Okay, what I want to talk about now is Crusader log style manifolds, which are on non-XL engines. So basically everything 1964 to 1991. The XL and HT series engines that debuted in 1992 had center dump risers. These are N style or log style. So I've got everything all cleaned up. What I want to do is just discuss the different scenarios that these can be put together and talk about the different gaskets and a block-off plate that's used if you're freshwater cooled. Now this particular engine I'm working on is a raw water cooled 454 model 350, and this particular engine is out of a Sportcraft fishing boat, like 1989 1990 vintage, and it has, like I say, raw water cooled manifolds, which means right here the water comes right out of the thermostat housing, goes right in here. This housing here is only used on raw water cooled engines. So if this was freshwater cooled, there would be a spacer assembly in here with a pipe plug that usually gets the antifreeze out. Sometimes it can come out of here too, so it just depends on the setup. So normally if it was a freshwater or had antifreeze through it, this would be antifreeze, and then this would be antifreeze coming out. So, but generally they put another 1-inch spacer here and then run the antifreeze out through that. So this particular setup has a 4-inch riser on it, and it has the swivel elbow option. So these elbows swivel on this. Okay, is basically how this works. Okay, so first thing you want to do, I've already got it cleaned up and everything ready to go, but before you always take it apart, you always want to do a visual inspection. You want to make sure nothing's cracked. You know, yes, you can pressure test, but sometimes these risers, I don't have a way to pressure test these because I got no way to block this part off. The manifolds we can pressure test, the risers we can pressure test, but I've got no way to pressure test this. So sometimes before cleanup, I'll stick actually every time before cleanup, I take a flashlight, look around, make sure I don't see any obvious. You know, the common area is right here because that's where the exhaust, that hot water mixed exhaust, is hitting that right there, and it's got to make that 90-degree turn. So if anything usually rots out, it's usually right in here. I've already looked at everything. Everything looks really good. Like I say, just do a visual again after we cleaned it. I already decked these, run them on a belt sander, cleaned everything up, trued it up, so I know it'll seal good. These little pits in here, that's no big deal. That gasket will take that up, no problem. You just want to make sure you got a pronounced area right around here. Looks pretty good. Okay, and this one too looks really good. All right, so let's talk about the gasket setups. So Crusader in the log style had two different gaskets. Okay, they had a one-hole gasket, which is this hole. Okay, this hole here is where the exhaust is going through. But right here, this is where I need to know what I've got and where this position goes. Okay, so right here on this one, this 96108 gasket, this is a 3-hole gasket. All right, this is where water comes through here. All right, obviously this is a 1-hole. So the easy way to remember this is the 1-hole gasket, by the way, is part number 96562, is always at the end of the line. Okay, even if you're freshwater cooled, you want to have a little bit of restriction in there, so only the water is going to go through here. All right, so if I have a 4-inch manifold stack, I'm going to put a 3-hole gasket in, see, because I want full water flow through this riser. Okay, and then this right here is the end of the line. That's what'll take my 1-hole gasket. Okay, so full flow through here, and then 1 hole at the end. So just remember, the last gasket is always the 1-hole. All right, and if you notice on these gaskets, they're pretty interesting. You can identify them right out of the gate. So even when the gasket's on the engine, you see a 1 nipple, which is right here. I call it a 1 nipple gasket. That gasket is the wide open 3-hole one, and the 2 nipple one is the single hole one. So we'll be able to tell. So I'll slide this gasket on just like this. All right. Like I said, I inspected the manifolds to make sure that there wasn't anything cracked or anything there. It looked really good. This engine come in for a flat cam, so we're converting it to roller. So right here, that's a 3-holer. Now, let's say I was freshwater cooled, all right? Well, this plate would then go in, okay? This plate is a block-off plate. You see how no water is gonna come through there now? So that means the antifreeze would circulate through this guy. Or if it had that 1-inch spacer, this would go here. So when you have a spacer design like that, really doesn't matter, in my opinion, what gasket you use, whether you use a 2-hole or a 3-hole, or excuse me, 1-hole or a 3-hole, is at this point, then you'd put this gasket on just like this. So it would be gasket, plate, gasket, and then the riser, or elbow, depending on how your configuration is. So that's how this would work. But since we're not freshwater cooled, we are going to leave the 3-holer there, all right? We're gonna grab our riser here, our 4-inch stack. All right. So we've got that basically put on there. Now, you have to have copper washers right here on this particular setup because water actually wick through here and drip. So if you do put this together, trust me, I put a lot of these together, and sometimes even with using sealer and new copper washers and the whole smash, you'll get a drip or two out of here. That is no big deal. That will rust up, quote unquote. You let that run a couple hours and that's not going to leak at all. So don't freak out if you got a couple little drippy poos there. It doesn't matter. It will fix itself. Because when everything's clean like this, this is how I like to do it. If you're in the salt water, it's not a bad idea to run some anti-seize through here. Now you're going to notice I'm going to not put the one nut on here right away because I'm going to show you there's a ground wire that goes in here. Oh, how about the right size? All right, I got the right socket here. All right, so there you go. I got full flow through there. Now let's use my 1-hole gasket, part number 96562. Okay, he will then go right here, just like such. Now these, I definitely like to run a little anti-seize in. You never know who the next guy is going to be take this stuff apart, so we always try to do him a favor. Like I say, the hole always goes to the top, so I should mention that as well. Because I want the water to come to the top and let gravity take care of it. If I put that hole down here, then I'm not getting water up at this section right here, see? So if there's always holes, it always goes to the top, or 1 hole. All right, we'll put this on here. Okay, I've got my riser all tightened up, and I'm going to go ahead and install the swivel elbow. And you'll see there's a ground wire on this guy, and that goes to right there. So they always want everything grounded in a boat when possible. So with this rubber hose here, there's really no metal connection, so this is why this is grounded like that. So this just goes in right like this. Like I said, I can rotate this 360 degrees, you know, so if I had a boat installation that, you know, let's say there was something in the way, a generator or wet, you know, a holding tank or something, these swivel risers are nice because I can put this thing 360 degrees anywhere I want. So that's really nice and handy. So we will tighten that up.